Recent decades, China has made major breakthroughs in development in many fields, and gradually moving towards the center of the world stage. However, the United States suffers from anxiety about China, jealous of China's rise. In order to hinder China's cooperation with neighboring countries, the United States continues to win over Southeast Asian countries to fight against China. Among them, Vietnam is the main target of the White House. But things backfired. Americans will be disappointed this time. Nguyen Phu Trong, General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of Vietnam, successfully concluded his visit to China. In the joint statement signed by China and Vietnam, the Lao Cai, Hanoi, Haiphong standard gauge railway planning review will be completed quickly. The railway in the joint statement will link the Chinese city of Kunming with the Vietnamese city of Haiphong. When the railway was built, Vietnam will adopt the Chinese standard railway gauge. As early as a few years ago, Vietnam is considering whether the railway gauge should be consistent with China. The railway gauge adopted by China is 1,435 millimeters, while in the old days, Vietnam is using a 1,000 millimeters railway gauge. If the railway gauges of the two countries is different, as they transport goods to each other, the train had to change tracks en route, lead to reduced transport efficiency. Demand for goods transport in China and Vietnam is expanding. If the efficiency of railway transportation between the two countries cannot keep up, it will also limit the trade cooperation between the two countries. Previously, Vietnam's attitude on this matter has been vacillating. During the 17th East Asia Summit meeting, President Joe Biden promises ASEAN countries U.S. will provide them with $850 million in future aid. It means each ASEAN country could receive an average of $85 million. The United States will deliver on these commitments in the coming years. But in Southeast Asia, where the economy is developing rapidly, it's such a small aid, like sending a beggar away. No country feels moved. It is precisely because of the stinginess of the United States that there is a sharp contrast with China's generosity. It made the Vietnamese determined to follow the way of China. Strengthen the economic and trade ties between the two countries through the unification of railway standards. It is undoubtedly good news for both China and Vietnam. And fundamentally, the reason why Vietnam is willing to finalize this big project with China is decided to adopt Chinese standards for new railways. In addition to improving the transportation efficiency of China-Vietnam import and export goods. There are two other reasons. First of all, when Laos, Vietnam's neighbor, adopted Chinese railway standards to build the China-Laos Railway, transport volumes are growing rapidly. The transportation volume in the past 10 months has exceeded over 1 million tons. Seeing that Laos has gained huge profits, Thailand is also very interested in participating. Looking forward to following in the footsteps of Laos. A railway using Chinese standards will also be built between Thailand and Laos. Once Vietnam also adopts Chinese standard railways, it has a railway with the same gauge as Laos and Thailand. The efficiency of commodity transportation in these three countries will also be greatly improved, conducive to strengthen cooperation among the three countries. Secondly, because of the global recession, the development of foreign-owned manufacturing in Vietnam is hindered, dealt a serious blow to Vietnam's economy. In order to develop the country's economy, the Vietnamese government has been planning to strengthen cooperation with China. Because around Vietnam, China is the largest export market. All in all, Vietnam introduced China's gauge standard. It can further promote the economic growth of Vietnam and neighboring countries. This is in the interests of Vietnam. It is also in the interests of neighboring countries. Following Vietnam's decision to adopt Chinese standard railways, other countries in Indochina are likely to follow suit. The exchanges between China and these countries in the Indochina Peninsula will be closer. In terms of economic development, the combination of Vietnam and China is getting closer and closer. At the same time, politically, is also falling into the arms of China. In addition to Vietnam, many countries in the world are also approaching China. It is also a testament to the strength of China's economic influence. This is why the world has given China so much trust. Unlike the United States, China has always cooperated with other countries based on the principles of mutual respect and mutual benefit. It is precisely because of this business that China can go so far. Whole Asia is benefited from the cooperation with China. It is precisely because of the pleasant cooperation with China, allowing these countries to focus on economic development, thus created a long-term peaceful environment in Asia.
Heal the world.